All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mind Clash Podcast, episode 68 Curses. It's Incursions.
Curses. I had nothing else to go with, so curses, incursions, that kind of made sense to me. I don't know.
There are Sanchez in my backyard. Oh, God.
Gotta get those dirty Sanchez. So howdy, how's it going, Meredith?
It's good. It's good. Long break from the podcast, 2 weeks, longer than usual. Probably our longest break ever, but, Christmas break and New Year's were both on Mondays, so. Ugh.
I mean, it wasn't really too long of a break because I did do a little bit of streaming during that time frame.
You did. I saw that you played the first our origin story episode on Christmas there.
Yeah, that was a little treat for everybody. First episode, so I played that. I was trying to figure out a way that I can just play it automatically because I didn't know if I was going to be here, but I decided I'd be here. I played it, and then I just kind of I was doing something in the background. I was playing Eve.
Yeah, I mean, that was a hilarious episode. You get to hear, like, my origin story, your origin story, how we started with the game, why we got into podcasting, all that jazz.
Yeah, very interesting. So did you have a pretty good little Christmas vacay?
I did. I had a lot of good time with the family, 3 Christmas dinners.
Ooh.
Yeah, you?
Yeah, I did a lot of cooking, a lot of cleaning. Still technically on vacation, if you want to call it that, for another week or so, and then I got to get back to it.
Sweet. Yeah, I had some time to do some ratting. I got a bunch of time to watch some streams while I was at the cabin. I watched Manic Velocity's stream. That was fun. I had a good time screwing up his chat.
Nice. Yeah, definitely a lot of time to do Eve and streams and podcast cameos and whatnot.
Yeah, you were on a bunch of shows there over the break.
Yeah, I was trying to get on everywhere, man. I was bored.
Yeah, I had a really good time. But we're back for a new year. Got a bunch of cool guests here. Talk about incursions. I want to start with some introductions. We'll start at the top.
Sir Nardio.
Hello, I'm Sergio from Goons from Federation. I am in leadership of the incursion sector.
Beautiful.
All right.
Making those dankisks. Boldilocks.
Hello guys, I'm Boldilocks. I'm a member of leadership of Warp to Me Incursions, a high-sec incursion group.
Still viable.
Yep.
2018. Tiana?
Yeah, better call me Tiana. Hi, I'm Tiana. I'm the voice of Low-Sec Incursions.
That's a pretty big title there. The voice of Low-Sec Incursions.
Yeah, it's like, the pretty girl on the shampoo advertising with good hair.
Yeah, I don't know anything about having good hair.
Sounds like the beginning of a CSM campaign.
I know, right? I have really good hair, smells good. All right, she wins.
All right, we might have Blobert join us a little bit later. Or
Yep.
Yeah.
I was thinking, since we have these guests from very different time zones, and it's really late at night or early in the morning for them, let's do the news after the topic. Does that sound good?
We pull this out occasionally, but okay, sounds good.
I might as well. I mean, as long as that's okay with you guys. But we will start out with the player news, which has to do with the video that we just showed, which was the Delve Incursion, which was almost 4 hours long. That was done by Goon Swarm and a lot of supers. How many supers were involved in that one?
I believe in the Kundalini side, the last side of the incursion, we have about 34 supers on Grid.
Wow. Just for PvE. What a world we live in.
Well, everybody else was in Rorquals, so.
Well, interesting fact about Rorquals. Rorquals can't actually enter incursion sites, one of the few ships.
Weird. Yep, but that's ridiculously fast crushing of an incursion. Has anyone found out if that was
That's
a
fast?
record? Yeah, that was super fast.
You gotta be kidding me.
Yeah, we had 4 fleets running most of the time.
Was that HQs or the smaller 10-man sites, VGs? Do you know?
We had 2 topped off 60-man HQ fleets and 2 30-man assault fleets.
Wow,
How many is that in total? I can't count.
That's 180.
Yeah, and that was more like late Euro, early West Coast, right? You guys were done around 03?
Yeah, something like that.
It's not even peak goon hours.
No, it wasn't our top hours, indeed.
So yeah, ridiculously fast.
I guess it was cleared fast because it was a staging system or something. Because surely you want to farm that.
Yeah, if possible, we try to farm the incursions, but some incursions are strategically important. I believe this constellation. No. We were told to kill this one.
Beautiful. Well, we'll get into all those kind of mechanics here in a second. Do you want to cover this new podcast that's out in the community?
Oh yeah, definitely. So where did I find that? Oh, I was looking on TotalEve.com. If you're not familiar with TotalEve.com, you can get all of your news, information, podcast, blogs, and videos. Will kind of aggregate right there for you. But apparently, by Eve News 24, they put it out that Yar's Revenge. That's Yaar. I don't know why you need the extra A in the Yar, but yeah, the Panic podcast. I listened to the first one, pretty good. Deal, him and a couple other guys just chatting. Right now, it's only on YouTube. So I'll put out that link to it. I've been talking to him a little bit to try and get him set up for doing, audio podcast form. But right now, it's just on YouTube. Wasn't too bad, and I hope to see more from those guys.
Great. I started listening to it this morning. But yeah, the YouTube format screws me over.
Yeah. Wasn't bad. So, fun fact about incursions. I completely forgot that we had already covered a little bit of incursions in a topic or an episode back in November 2016. Apparently, my battle enraged PTSD filled mind couldn't let me remember that far back, and I totally thought this was going to be a new, fresh topic. But we can cover it again because I don't really know much about it, and I want to.
Well, things change in Eve, and we have a completely different suite of guests, so they can lend their unique perspectives.
Yeah. So, which one of you guys can give like a brief overview on what the incursions are?
Well, I guess I can give it a go. So basically, Sancha Kuvakai has come in and gone, I want your system, I'm invading. And Concord are paying us to smack them around a bit and send them on the way. Basically, he's there to steal slaves, which he puts into the ships and what have you. At least that's the in-game.
Lore.
Thank you. The mechanics of it is you run the sites, you get your risk with a fleet, and end of the site, you complete a site, you get your payout. Depending on the size of the site is just depending on how much ISK you earn. So there's 4 different sizes: scouts, which I don't think anybody runs professionally; vanguards, which are a 10-man group. Slightly larger in null sec and low sec, but for high sec purposes, it's a 10-man group. Assaults, which are a 20-man group, and then headquarters, which are a 40-man group.
So, which expansion did Incursions come out with, and how long? How has this content been around?
It came out with the Incursion expansion, I think. And I want to say it's been around about 7 years, but I'm not 100% sure on that. I came into it about 5 years ago, so.
So Incursions have been a well-established faucet for ISK in the game, and it's been well exploited. Your groups, all of you have it very well gamed out. There's no new or exciting or changing or dynamic PvP here, PvE.
Well, that's not entirely true. It hasn't been that long ago that they, for the first time, allowed capitals inside incursion sites.
When did that change occur?
Year and a half ago, I want to say.
Yeah, something like that.
And that's, of course, just in low and null?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to get your capitals into high side.
Gotta know a guy who knows a guy.
Can you let me know?
You heard of Kriba?
I have, yes.
He'll know guy. Alright, so it's 3 systems, like, besides the amount of players you'll stuff into a site. High, low, and null are fairly similar, right? There's...
Oh, let's also not forget, there still is Drifter Incursions, is there not? Or no?
No.
No?
They pulled them out after they were very, very broken.
Yeah, but very, very fun.
They were, absolutely, but they were very, very broken. The rumor I've heard is they actually fired the guy that developed them. They were that broken.
I think we covered that in that episode 16.
We may have, I don't know.
Yeah, one of the guys who broke it was on our show, and he told us about how like they were getting ridiculous payouts and could clear the sites ridiculously fast.
Marathia?
Can't remember.
See, at least I'm not the only one.
Probably. I used to run Drifter Incursions with Marathia as well.
Yeah, he's the GOTG Darkness Incursion guy.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So that pretty much wraps up what that is. Now, in the little bit of research that I've done over the past week or so, because I don't know, for some reason I've kind of been interested in this, and I started putting some alts in and training them up to where I need to be. What ships is like you cannot do this unless you have this type of ship? What is that?
Capsule? The capsule
Like
can't take the acceleration gate?
Right.
Yeah,
so like the bare minimum, like what does a person need to get started in this?
the easiest way to get into it is in a standard sort of T1 battleship. Depending on whether your community runs armor or shield, will depend on the flavor of it. After that, and depending on your location, you can go, faction battleships, marauders, T3s, and then up to capitals, supers, titans, whatever your flavor is.
You don't even need T1 battleships. We in the Imperium used to have a doctrine for alpha clones, even then they were not able to fly anything bigger than T1 cruisers.
Yeah, you can have them come on the grid, but to safely and not lose their ship over and over and over again. That's. I believe you still know you would have faxes and stuff with them, right? So. Yeah,
but we don't use faxes to save T1 ships. We simply give them a new one. And surprisingly, they actually managed to survive pretty well. Even our armored tank Osprey.
So you would not recommend bringing a Drake?
No.
Well, when Incursions first started, yeah, they were running them in Drakes. The whole meta was very, very kitchen sink. But it's all been refined down, and now it's you bring in your Hyperions, your Vindicators, your Maelstroms, your Macarials, and what have you. At least in high sec.
In nullsec, at least in Goon's Farm, we tend to shoot drakes as soon as they enter the site, since some dudes try to be funny by bringing a smart bombing one in the site.
So what's the preferred ship in a Goon's Null incursion site?
A combination of carriers and subverse, battleships, and Logi.
Are you still utilizing the T1 cruiser cap transfer strategy?
Yes, we still use T1 cruisers, but since they removed the racial locks from Alpha clones, we have removed some of them because they were not that useful.
So let's move through the racial lock on Alpha clones. Has that changed the high sec community as well? Now that battleships are available to Alpha clones?
A little bit, but to be honest, at least from my community, to me, it's not affecting us. We've always been sort of the newer, lesser skilled pilot friendly. So all it's done is allowed more people to turn up in their Alpha clones and go, hey, I can make enough ISK to go Omega in a day and a half of playing, so it's enabling people to move through the game far easier than what it was just before they changed it.
Yeah, because if there's one endgame factor about incursions, it's maximum DPS equals maximum rewards, right? Because the faster you can run the sites, the faster you make your ISK, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect fleet. You can run, at least in high sec, it's going to be different in null because the payouts is different. In high sec, you're looking at 200 mil an hour plus LP, Concord LP, which is quite nice.
Yeah, Concord LP you can exchange to any NPC faction, right?
Any high sec NPC faction and a couple of the low null sec ones, and Sisters of Eve, I believe. Mortis and the pirate ones you can't.
Yeah, Concord doesn't like pirates all that much.
You can, as far as I know, you can get your Concord LP transferred to Sisters or Syndicate, but you can't transfer them to Faction Warfare or any other pirate factions. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Faction Warfare you can't put it into those particular corps, but any other corps for the high sec empires.
Yeah, all high sec except Faction Warfare.
And the Concord LP store has special rewards as well with the capital metiguns, right?
Yeah, that's right, but I don't know, like, if it even worth it. I've got like a large request once for like a large portion of faction guns, capital guns once, but I don't know. You like there's a way to spend your Concord LP better for sure, unless you're like given someone a favor of transferring your LP so almost for free. Like giving them as a gift or something. Like I use my loyalty points mostly. I buy cheap implants for myself when I need this like hair wirings. Like for example, I don't know, Logi implants, like I don't know, whole upgrades implant, for example, or remote repair. And the rest I spend usually in ore. And I think this excavator drones is a thing right now.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
Yeah, you can get your LP converted to that, and it's pretty profitable. I bought my Nix of LP only.
So you're looking at high sec, 200 mil an hour plus your LP. How much LP are you making in an hour?
So for headquarters, it's 7,000 per site. You're doing 5, 6 sites an hour. So quite a lot.
35, 40,000.
The only thing I know for sure, you don't really notice that you have LP and like until you have like 7 million of them, and you can't really transfer them anywhere to not break the market.
Yeah, the LP market does become saturated. Normally, what happens is when all the incursions die, because that happens. There's
Oh,
no
yeah.
high sec incursions. People go spend their LP, and that's
Yeah.
when the price you can get for LP just comes right down, and it's just at this point don't spend it.
That's for sure.
Similar to the problems that faction warfare guys have out when the war zone starts to shift and the LP markets get flooded with people trying to cash out.
Very much so, yeah.
That's why I like Concord, because it's convertible. I think it's the only kind of LP that is convertible. Am I right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, to my knowledge.
Yeah, I don't know any others that can.
Really, it's except for the ESS, it's the only way to make. Well, I guess in pirate faction missions, it's kind of your only way to make effectively make LP and nullsec. I guess those are 2 large sections. Probably ignore that. All right, so you get an ISK reward. What about nullsec? What kind of numbers are you making in nullsec?
That depends a lot on what sites we get and on what we can bring to the spawn, because in certain at certain locations we can't bring supers, etc.
So just a capital, no supers, just capitals rolling around, a bunch of Thanatoses. What are you making? Do you think?
If we get the good sites, we can make about around the same as high sec, around somewhere in the low 200s. If we get a good fleet.
Kind of restricted by warp speed at that point, eh?
Yeah.
High sec incursions love ascendancies.
Try finishing a TCRC in 7 minutes and 6 seconds with a 60 AU warp included with capitals.
Yikes.
Let's not get into competitive here, okay?
Speaking of competitive, so I noticed there's a kind of a wait list system going on with a lot of the incursion groups, like Warp to Me and Titanian Fleet. It looks like when you get into those chat channels for that, you have to go onto your guys' websites and like register or get on a wait list. Is that how it goes?
Well, for at least Warp to Me, yeah, we have a waitlist built for us by one of our FCs. And yeah, you queue up. Its maximum number for high sec is 40 people. Obviously, we need a balance of some logi and some DPS and some snipers. And so we split them down, and it's first come, first serve. At least for Warp to Me, other communities cherry pick and what have you, but Warp to Me has always been first come, first serve. So you can turn up in that shiny Vindicator, or you can turn up as a new bro in a Hyperion with nothing in your bank account and jump in and make the ISK.
Yeah, I believe all high-sec and caution communities have a waitlist, except probably NGA, the Russian one. And like even low-sec uses a waitlist, not for queue purposes though. We use it for skill check reasons. Since like we use cheaper ships than people usually use in high-sec or with goons. We rely mostly on skills, like on good skills for our pilots. So we try to achieve what we can best do there. So we use waitlist more like a fleet management tool and a skill check.
in Nullsec we also use a wait list. We're currently in the process of making a new one because the old one doesn't seem to work for everyone, which is kind of annoying. But we kind of need it because we sometimes have lots of people waiting, and you don't want to have people that sit waiting there while other people get in before them.
So, like, say you're Joe Capsular, just coming off of a break, or you just skilled up to just to do this, and you get into one of these chat channels, and you want to get on the wait list. What usually is like, oh, how long do I have to wait before I can actually get in there with you guys and do this?
During the week, our average wait is about 20 minutes. Weekend, it doubles or triples depending on what role you want to fill. If you want to fill a sniper, which we need less of, you're going to be waiting longer. DPS and Logi tend to have the shorter waits.
Well, that's good. Yeah,
Yeah,
I just
can
know
confirm.
when I saw the whole thing with the wait list, I was like, oh man, I don't want to have to just like sit here and spin my ship around in the hangar waiting to find out if I can play Eve today.
I'm not going to lie to you. A lot of our guys bring sort of a mission running ship, and they'll hop out a couple of systems, be on the wait list, and when they get to the top, they'll come back in and sit in their ship and wait ready. Our record for someone waiting has been 5 hours, but then a lot of the time it's instant. So it's all about when you turn up and how many people on that particular time slot want to play.
So one important difference here in the Incursion community, right, is the difference that in a regular PvE site, you contribute via your DPS if you're solo, and that's the amount of ace you're going to make per hour. In a, say you were pair up with another group or another guy and run missions, you'd have to split that ISK 50-50, but only to contributing pilots in combat. Lurking pilots would get some payout. And then there'd be the loot, obviously. You'd have to loot that. But there's no loot in Incursion sites, and every pilot gets rewarded that's involved in the site, correct?
Yep, everybody that's on grid or inside the site, that in fleet, that applies the most damage to the site throughout the site, because you do have contests between incursion groups, will receive the same payout. That includes Logi. It's just being on the field, as it were.
So one other thing in the payouts department we kind of glossed over was there are additional payouts if you complete the incursion, right? So most of the incursion farming is occurring in the time it's established, especially in high and low sec regions that make sense to keep it there. But in the case like the Goon one, where they cleared it in 3-4 hours, you can kill the final boss, right? And the final boss has special rewards.
So the mum site, as it's commonly known, or mothership site, Kundalini for high and nullsec, the Ouroboros for low sec. It's a double site payout. So for high sec, it's 62 million, and double the LP. Null and
for null and low, it's 90 mil.
There you go. And then
we can have 120 people on grid and get full payouts.
Yeah, there's obviously in null and low sec you can have more people there than you can in high sec. So that actually contributes to the higher ISK available per hour in null and low. At least, that's what I would think.
I do want to make a comment about the Goon headshots that you showed in the video. We had more people on grid than is allowed to get maximum payouts. We actually had more people on grid then is allowed to get any payout, so no one made any ISK from that site.
Oh man.
Oh,
The whole 2 minutes you're on grid.
yeah, but it didn't take too long.
It was the only site I did that incursion.
I think I
So-
was watching that incursion in Dotland map, and I was like, wow, it's only an hour in that nullsec incursion, and it's already half done.
Yeah, we had a slow start.
You guys have avoided what the
Impressive.
rewards are.
So yeah, I was going to circle back to it. So yeah, once you complete the site, obviously some items will drop. It's mainly faction items, BPCs, from the mothership. It's the only ship in Incursions that does drop loot. Some people think they're really exciting. Obviously, the Ouroboros can drop the Revenant BPC. That is exciting.
Quite a valuable drop, right?
Honestly, like even if Ouroboros drops Revenant BPC, people will make more money by running the incursion than by this drop, even with that. And that is especially true for high-sec and null-sec because they don't even get it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't drop every time. I think it drops like once in a few months. You know, it's pretty random and the chance is really low. So, you know, not worth it. You make more money when you run the incursions. That's for sure. That is true for any level of security.
What about the Shadow fighter bombers?
Yeah, the Shadow Fighter bombers, they drop 5-run BPCs nowadays, and one BPC is only worth about 2.5 bill.
No, so they nerfed them very heavily when they did the changes to fighters. The 5-run doesn't drop anymore.
Yes, it does. We've
Yes, it
had
does.
one.
Okay, it doesn't drop in high sec anymore.
I don't know. Well, TVP told me they still got some run fives. At least, like that was what Drymate said, I believe.
Then someone's telling
And
Porcupine.
Recently, when NGA closed their incursion, I believe they also have 5-run. I don't know. We need to check on that probably.
I
We
haven't.
also have, I believe we've got 2 5-run BPCs somewhere.
They do exist from the past, but I don't think
No,
anyone's dropping.
they are actually from recent incursions.
Yeah, people say in Twitch right now that they drop 1 run in high sec. Said. I don't know. I'm not sure. I never touched the high sec loot.
The last 3 that we've had have been that I'm aware of have been 1 runs only. I'm sure there was
Still,
something.
like,
Some of the. It's still 600-700 million worth of loot, but the way we dispose of this loot is we run a raffle for it. So it's just a number out of the hat, and off it goes. It's contracted, and away we go off to the next one. So
I think Baldy, you would agree with me. Like, even with Shadow Blueprint, a pilot would make more ISK running the incursion, right?
yes, yeah, depending how long it takes to kill the influence, which when a incursion spawns, it has an influence bar which affects your ship's performance and damage and resistances. And that takes a while to grind down.
Can you talk a bit about that mechanic? So pretty much I noticed when you're in an incursion system, you'll see on the the top left hand side where you have your system information. It shows once you jump in there, it says you're in a Sancha incursion area. It changes your chat channel over to that incursion, and it gives you some information. And it says certain systems have been or system influence. So you're looking at warp scrambling and no, I mean, what else are you looking at there?
Well, so first, yeah, bunch of penalties. First of all, it's cyno jammed. Not covert cyno, but it is cyno jam. So no jumping in capitals. You've got to gate those things in. Which obviously null and low sec is probably a bonus. It means you can't be hot dropped by supers.
Mhm.
You then have your bounty reduction by 50%. So normal NPCs that you go out and shoot, what have you, their bounties are all reduced by 50%. Those two things remain static throughout the incursions. Then as you grind down the influence, which you'll see the bar move down as sites are completed, and the different level of sites affect it differently. So one for a Vanguard or VG site, 2% for a assault site, and 4% for a HQ site. And I think you start at 25% less resistances on your ship.
It depends on the system you're in. It has less effects in VG systems and more
Yeah.
in assaults and even more in HQ systems.
Yeah, it's 25% for HQ, so that's at the top end. And then there's a penalty on your DPS as well, so your ship damage that you're outputting. So it just slows everything down for a little while while this grinds down. While you grind everything down, and then when you hit 0% influence, the mothership will spawn, and you can go and end the incursion. Now, what happens, at least in high sec and low sec, is most of the time it gets farmed. So we will try and run as many sites as we can for the period that it's available to us. There's 3 states that the incursion goes through. Established, which is a random time. It's 1 to 5 days. And then there's a mobilized, which is 48 hours, 2 days. And then a withdrawing period, which is a day. And at the end of that withdrawing period, it would actually just naturally disappear. So any LP or that you've accrued by running the sites will disappear with it. If you don't kill the mothership, you don't get your LP.
Okay, so it seems like, from what I understand, once you've just done that incursion site and it's no longer in that system, is there like it definitely doesn't respawn in that same system, right? I mean, it moves on somewhere else. Is there a time between when one ends and another begins, and is there multiple incursions throughout New Eden?
So, from my understanding, I'm not 100% sure about nullsec, but from my understanding, there's 3 in high sec, there's 1 in low sec, and I think there's 3 in nullsec as well.
Yeah, that's
there's
right.
3.
Yeah, so the 3, 1, 3. Once one is killed,
For us.
yeah, poor Tiana, probably the most valuable incursions in low sec ones. So once you kill one, finish the focus, a timer will start. For the first 12 hours, it cannot spawn. Then after that, a period of 24 hours, it can spawn any time up to that full 24 hours. So it's 12 to 36 hour window where you're going to have a new spawn. And that can be random. And it can spawn back in exactly the same spot. It's happened twice, to my knowledge. So
it has happened once in NPC Delve. That was glorious, 2 farms in a row.
There you go. It's very rare, but it does happen.
Yeah, that's true. I've noticed that in LowSec as well. Like we have not a rule, but like rule of thumb probably. Don't leave the incursion that just was closed. Probably the next one will be close to it.
Yeah. To be honest, I don't move from the incursions that just died unless we've got somewhere to go. I'll stay. My character will stay there, and then I'll just move it across.
Yeah, we don't have that problem at all because we wait for the incursions to come to us, which
Yeah,
can be
go
quite a
to
long
the-
wait sometimes.
Okay, so with the amount of or the few amount of incursions that are active at the same time, so I know you have all these different groups. Like let's say one group is up on the north, and that's where they have an incursion going on, and there's nothing going down in the south. These are people that are down there. They're just going to sit around and wait. I mean, how does it? Do you guys have like an agreement on how that works? Is it like time zone based?
Well, HiSec Gaussian communities do have sort of an agreement, but that mostly concerning the closure of the incursions, not about like who goes where. But some communities, as I know, they tend to avoid each other to avoid contests in HiSec. Or they like try to not get like all 3 or 4 bigger incursion groups in same system, because there's only one HQ system in each incursion, in each constellation.
Okay. Yeah, because I've heard there's some people who like to do multi-boxing of, just literally by themselves on, 20 screens running incursions. Is this something that has been a problem for you guys, or is that not a big deal?
It's mainly limited down to the Vanguard, which is the 10-man sites.
Mhm.
Before the IS Boxer and the whole broadcasting ban that they did, yes, we had people using 40 accounts broadcasting to and what have you, and they could run HQs. Which but which was fine. They didn't. Those guys didn't really interfere with the one up community. So the real 40 real people communities, they would just go around, do their thing. In some places, they were actually really friendly with the communities. So they would come in, help us shoot something, and then before the site was finished, warp out, making our site time and therefore our ISK come faster.
Yeah, also keep in mind that these multi-boxers are helping to grind the influence when it's a fresh incursion.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, with Warp to Me, if we don't have a full fleet, we do ask, hey, anybody wants to bring in a second character and what have you, to double their risk. They still have to do the job of 2 pilots. They can't just like tag along behind, but they will be welcome. But if the fleet fills up, they go away. The second character stops.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
we ask them to drop out, so we have real people, or
Yeah,
so
we do.
with the is boxing multi-boxers, how much were they making per site?
If they were doing the HQs, how on math, 40 times 31 mil.
So like 1.2 bill, something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And that's every 15 minutes, right?
Yeah,
So
let's say 15 minutes.
4 bill an hour. At that point, did anybody or did you ever like worry that maybe it was too easy to do with the is boxing and whatnot? Just out of curiosity.
From my point of view, no, it didn't bother me at all. We had our wait lists were always full, and what have you. There was never any issue putting people in fleet at that point. I don't know whether the broadcasting issue, the ban, as it were, was directly because of that or not. I don't know the reasons for the devs doing it. I
The
think
thing is,
it may have contributed to it, absolutely. But then people can still. I know people that run the 20-man sites on their own.
the thing
Even
is
now.
with caution, like you put it like we have something to share, like we get less if they get more, but it's not true for incursions. In incursions, everyone gets equal payout, even in terms of one site. So if someone is doing this like Vanguard sites on their own and receiving med ISK, that's okay, so be it. We don't receive less money because of that. It's not like anomalies that like someone can come and grind all of your anomalies and there's like no more anomalies. No, that's not true. They respawn.
Yeah. So while they're in a system, there's only 5 or 6 sites. They respawn, and they respawn at quite a good rate. So even if you have two 40-man fleets in a HQ system, that you're never going to be waiting for a site.
Well, we're joined by Funky here. He's a multi-boxer who does incursions.
Greetings.
Hello.
And
Yeah, sorry. I tried to get the. I thought I'd send him a link to our Discord, but I guess I totally spaced on that. But thanks for joining us.
No problem. Shame Blobber didn't show up.
It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, so we were actually just talking a little bit about the multi-boxing, and I understand you do that. So what like how do you do this? I mean, you don't give us your trade secrets, but I mean, what goes on? Like, how do you get your brain working on 10 different screens at a time?
It's not too bad. I initially started out running Dominix's and assigning them to a Vindicator, so you only need to concentrate on one account at once. The aggro swap is also very predictable, so you only need to swap back to your logic count every 30 seconds. I used to run double nesters, but that was way overkill. I've since moved on to a Rattlesnake fleet, Claymore boost, Vindicator webs, and T3 logi.
Okay, so I mean, so you do this, you're talking like what, 10, 15 characters?
Myself, I run 13 characters. In Vanguard sites, there is a reduced payout over 10. However, the total amount doesn't really drop until after 14 characters. And I only care about the total amount that the site pays out, since I get all the payout for it anyway.
how long have you been running sites solo?
Good 8-9 months. As I said, I started out with Dominix's, and they were massively overkill in tanking. I did that for about 2 months until I saved up for my Rattle fleet, and I haven't really changed much since.
Cool. So you're obviously doing pretty good for yourself. And this question goes for like all of you, but like, is this all you do in EVE Online is incursions, or do you take like a break and do something else when there's the little bit of downtime, or what?
No, I certainly spread myself out. I've got a mining fleet, IPVP. I run incursions. I trade. I do a lot of things. If you just did incursions, which I did for about a year, you drive yourself insane.
Yeah, in nullsec, it's like how we run it. It's not really possible to constantly run incursions because we can't run all the nullsec incursions. They have to be close to our home in Delft, as it's way too much effort to move people around into hostile space and try and run incursions there with all the hostiles around.
Cool. Where are my notes? Lost my notes. Too many screens.
Well,
All
I
right.
would say like it's really hard to organize a traveling nullsec community because of sovereignty. Like I believe sovereignty even affects anchoring of some like citadels, for example. Like you need to stage out of somewhere. You can't really anchor a citadel and wait for it losing all the CISC and it
Yeah,
will be killed pretty soon, and you can't dock up as well because it's not your space, and it probably can't be like a public community like HiSec with people from different alliances and communities, because they like again because of standings, because of
And people
docking
simply
rights,
shoot each other.
or this.
Well, that's a problem in HiSec, right? HiSec gankers will often target incursion running ships, as they're often extra blingy.
Well, we somehow managed to do this because like everyone who messes with group just lose access to it, and you will lose a lot more money than you gain by a kill mail. And also, like I said, in low-sec, our ships are really cheap comparing to high-sec or to Goon Group.
With HiSec, yes, we are subject to gankers, but we can mitigate it in some ways, as long as people just follow the FC's instructions, which, as someone once described Incursions, it's herding cats. So yeah, sometimes that doesn't happen and people die, and that's, what can you do? The most dangerous part for us is actually traveling from one to another.
Yeah, that's true. As for herding cats, I actually like incursions as a thing. I started doing incursions when I started playing Eve. I think like the first months when I started, and I strongly believe that incursions train good pilots for fleets later in their career, in their PvP career. For example, incursions is an excellent training for Logi, because you can't really train Logi doing anomalies or missions, and it's a good Logi training, and it's a good training for PvP pilots as well, because they learn how to follow broadcasts, how to be aligned, how to broadcast in time, stuff like this.
Yeah, it's definitely a good place to learn all of the large block fleet mechanics for sure.
Yeah, now with the alphas being able to get into this, I'm sure this would probably be a better stepping stone into nullsec and into some of those higher PvP type groups than really anything else.
I didn't read at all. I mean, when I started Incursions, it was in HiSec, and I didn't read at all. And when I was in Gorgon Empire, it was an NPC Russian alliance in OSEC, an NPC curse. And they asked me, like, how do you make money? No, they specifically asked me what ship I read in. And I said, I'm rating in Aneiras. They were very surprised. I thought rating is like the way you make money, They would be like, how can you rate in Aneiras? Incursions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely ran them when I was in HiSec and made a lot of good ISK that way, and then I was more prepared when I joined a larger group.
Am I still just the only idiot who hasn't run Incursions ever?
Just you.
Do I need to get in on this? I actually I've been looking at it for a week, and I've been reading about it, watching some video on YouTube, looking at Eve Uni's information about it, and I have now successfully trained one of my alts into Galente Battleship 3. So yeah, I want
Well,
to
that's a good
get
place to start. That's a good place to start, definitely. Get yourself a Hyperion or train Minmatar Battleship 3 and get
Doing that right
Vindy.
now.
Get a Vindy.
Or get a Megatron. We use Megatron.
HiSec doesn't.
Nullsec does.
We like the webs, I'm sorry.
Kale's not a big Goon fan.
We actually use rails.
Yeah, yucky.
We use rails and
Disgusting.
assaults. No, we use rails and assaults on our Vindicators, absolutely, because there's more range involved. But HQ's is a bit more close, so it's all about the blaster DPS.
Yeah, I'm literally spending all the ISK right now so I can train into Caldari and Minmatar Battleship 3. All the ISKs. I'll be joining you guys shortly.
Fantastic.
And Nell
You
said
know,
carrier.
Jackers?
And Nell said carriers are the new vindicators.
Absolutely.
As in,
Yeah.
we've got a shit ton of DPS. Sorry,
So I think we've got a pretty
a
good
shit ton.
base of what is currently out there for the incursion community. But are there any problems with the incursion community or incursions themselves? Any asks that the incursion community has for CCP as far as development?
Yes. Please remove the physical object that is the beacon you land at after taking the gate. Titans keep bumping off it.
They had a thing in the patch notes. I can't remember when, but it was if you didn't cause or cause damage or rep someone inside the site, but only just came into the site, you wouldn't receive POW. I actually want them to bring that in. It was in the patch notes and it's never been implemented. It stops people just sponging. And that is my pet hate. If you're going to be in my site, in my fleet, do your job. If you're going to sit there and do naff all, go away. And we watch people and we talk. If they're not doing anything, they do go away. But that just makes sure they're doing something. That I want them to implement that.
Well, since I'm around lots of high-sec communities, the first thing I see, like with player base decreasing, they actually have less people for the fleets as well. And I see like lots of channels dying because they don't have enough people to run the fleets as much as they want. For example, as for like Russian incursion groups in high-sec, a year ago, like almost 2 years ago, one of the big channels was closed because they just didn't get enough people for fleet, and people from that channel merged another one, NGA. And right now, I guess NGA is only HQ capable incursion community, like Russian incursion community in high-sec. And as I've heard, TVP and Warp to Me also have the same issue, like who doesn't in high-sec at least. And as for myself, and like probably as for everyone in this room who was doing incursions, I would ask from CCP to decrease the number of TPPH as it was suggested in our Twitch chat.
Yes,
you
please.
do know. Hang on. You do know why they increased the spawn rate on TPPHs, because a community went, hey, we're making an amazing ISK. They pulled numbers once. Right, they pulled these amazing numbers once and kept linking it everywhere as a screenshot. And a dev saw it, and another dev saw it, and they went, "Oh, we better do something about that." Exactly the same as, hey, we're making 300 and whatever it was ticks, so they nerfed it, right? So they nerfed it by making more TPPHs. Something we haven't covered is the different sites. HQs, there's 3 sites. 2 take between 8 and 13 minutes. The third one, the TPPH, True Power Provisional Headquarters, takes longer. Anywhere from sort of 15 to 20 minutes, depending on your fleet, obviously. And there's more of those spawning at the moment, and it just means that you're not making quite as much ISK as possible because you've got to grind through those to get to the better sites.
It's even worse. Have you ever used a capital micro drive?
I'm aware of the issues with the capitals in those second TPPHs. So the thing that makes TPPHs difficult, especially for capitals, is that they're 3 rooms. There's 3 acceleration gates. You move, go into the first one, kill the NPCs, move to the while you're moving to the next one. It's 60 kilometers away. I'm not sure how fast the capital can go, but I'm fairly sure it's not that fast to get there efficiently, especially with the amount of DPS you can field.
Speed isn't the problem. I managed to get on the gates before it spawns pretty often. It's more that your microwarp drive uses about 20% of your capacitor, if not more, every cycle.
Yeah, there you go. Right, so that's going to rip out your cap, which means you can't be efficient. Right, so same problem with high sec. People overuse their micro warp drives, and they stop, and whatever. So it just slows everything down. Obviously, we use basilisks or guardians if they're armor to feed cap, but it still slows people down. But something.
The good thing about capitals is that you can refit when you're close to them. So we've got a TPPH refit for extra capacitor.
Nano fight overdrived capitals.
Oh boy.
Mostly capacitor power relays or capacitor rechargers.
Would you expect the Sancho's incursions to be around after Sancho's get their Sotillo? Or do you expect this incursions to go away or change? Perhaps get a different pirate faction?
Sorry, go ahead.
I don't know. I've heard rumors of Garista's incursions, but I guess that's this is the forward operating bases. This is what they've turned incursions into. Are incursions going away? I don't know. I hope not. We've built up a really good community around them.
From what I see right now, what's going on with Blood Raiders and Gristas, like Blood Raiders are at least run by some people, but Gristas, no. Like, since I'm dealing with Revenants, right? People asking me weird stuff, like how do I get AT ship? I don't know. How do I get Komodo blueprint? Interesting. And I started to ask around to know if people even doing this, and I know that like they don't do this even even with promised price of the Komodo and what was it, the Titan, I don't remember.
Moloch.
Yeah, so there's something about it that is not really appealing to people, like that they don't think that it's worth it.
The
So,
mechanics are terrible.
Yeah.
Just a quick correction. I think that the Komodo is actually the Garista's Titan, and the Moloch, I believe, is the
The Moloch is the Blood Raiders Titan, indeed.
Yeah, somebody asked me about the Komodo blueprint, how, like, if I can get it, and I don't know. I didn't heard of anyone. Like, I know, like, people found the Gristas shipyards, but I'm not really sure that anyone was actually doing them.
They've been done.
So someone said nerf to incursions or more risk. There is some risk to incursions. If you don't do your job properly, broadcast on time, or you've got logi that are being a bit shit, you can lose your ship. There is risk, especially in the headquarters. There are people do lose their ships. So it isn't perfect by any means. While we try to minimize the risks, we run, at least what to me, we run enough logi +1 to cover the DPS.
Well, it is somewhat kind of. Sorry if I cut you off a little bit there, my man, but somewhat talking about that. I wasn't the original person to say that. I don't know if they were in the Twitch chat or in here.
In Twitch.
But I have, little known secret, run a bunch of incursions back when I was starved for money. And oftentimes in my shield tank Vindicator, when I did broadcast really late, I still lived. It seemed like I should have been punished there, just based off the amount of money I made, I could have easily replaced the Vindy and had no issues there. I feel like I'd like to just kind of echo what they said, with there isn't as much risk, and you don't get punished for your mistakes as harshly as I think you should.
I've probably got stats that probably indicate that I think people do get punished for their mistakes. I mean, look, all high sec, at least the HQ ones run a SRP, a ship replacement program. You pay your 10 million at the beginning of your day, and you're covered through no fault deaths. So if it's not your fault, you're covered. You get your loot and X amount of ISK back to cover your ship. If it is your fault, you're not going to get paid out. It's as simple as that. But the data that I can lay my hands on say that we do pay out quite a lot of money to no fault, deaths. So I think maybe you got lucky a few times. It will also depend on your fit and who you were flying with.
I was flying with TVP. This was probably 2015, 2016. The pro doesn't mean much.
Even back then, TVP were running slightly higher grade fits, I believe, or they were certainly moving into those higher grade fits, or demanding those higher grade fits. So it's easier to pull you out of. With better resistance, it's easier to pull you back than it is with a lower resist if you were using, say, T2 involves versus B types or something.
Yeah, I remember some instances when I was in Lodge in HiSec and actually was target broadcasting people that didn't broadcast and like shouting out in comms that give refs to this guy. Yeah, we usually save people. That's why I'm saying that Incursions is a good practice for about to be Lodge in PvP fleets, because I'm doing the same right now in PvP fleets. Like when for example, Elakisis is too busy to tackle expensive stuff that he can't bother broadcasting reps. I'm telling Logi, because I see like the lasers coming to his ship. Like I'm telling Logi, hey, like let's give reps to this guy.
No, I completely get that. Back when I trained new bros and a whole bunch of stuff, I would warp us to a really dangerous site to try and test to see people's broadcast potentials. I could see that it would be a really good way to train dudes for Logi and other roles just to broadcast on time as well.
Yeah, someone said, I mean, you got lucky. Go Leroy TCRC gate, which is probably the most dangerous site. With a low number of Logi or limited number of Logi, you'll end up at least in armor, if not hull, if not dead. There's been times when we've had perfect fleet comp and our anchor has gone into the site because he's always the first person in, but the time we've got in, he's dead, and there's not a lot we can do about it. And then there's other risks like, hey, we've got gankers floating around, we've got someone trying to warp scramble our Logi as we enter a site.
That isn't as big of an issue though, usually. Speaking as somebody who is within the community of boys who like to do the ganks on things like that, it's really hard to pull off, takes a lot of effort, even if you're just landing on gates with a whole bunch of cheap T1 frigates and trying to scram down the Logi as they go in. Concord arrives within 15 to 20 seconds, and really the commitment doesn't get you much.
Yeah, again, it depends on which community you're going to be targeting, to be honest.
Do you think some communities are safer for the ganks than others?
Yes, I do. Depending on which community you run with, depends on how they even enter a site. So, it's like I say, it depends on which community you run with and how the FC reacts. And I think all communities train their FCs in some way on how to react to ganking events or events like that. There's been some genius ones over the years. I'm not going to go into them because it'll give people ideas. But
No,
no.
I've heard, but I'd love to hear I've heard of a lot, but I'd love to hear your events, and I'm sure the viewers would as well. And honestly, like it's not something that's easy to pull off, which I'm sure you know. Not only do you have to deal with range on the gank, but you also have to deal with the rats potentially that are going to shoot you, which do a lot of damage. So if you bring in a bunch of Taloses, depending on the range of the dudes you're going for, you might be really far away from your targets and lose half your fleet by the time you get on top of something you want. Then they might have all warped out. So I'd really love to hear your thoughts on the gank and how it went down in your eyes.
Well, the most I don't want to give too much away because I don't want to encourage it. I don't want my incursion community shut down because people, 101 people have decided that today's the day they're going to come and try and gank, our group.
Yeah, that would be not good.
That would be not good. That's not what I'm going to do. But I mean, you can go do the research yourself. There's stuff out there on the forums and what have you that you can find, and it will tell you some really interesting ideas. But that's about all I'm going to say.
I've actually planned gank weeks for my corporation. We just didn't have the numbers for it.
Most of the time, what actually stops people is the sec of the system that they're trying to gank in and their security status.
Security status usually isn't that big of an issue, to be honest, in a gank. FACPO isn't a massive issue as long as you keep moving. You can even move Taloses through systems. Speaking as somebody who flies around high sec sometimes as a neg 10.
No,
but like if you land in the site, FACPO shows up, right? So that can become an issue once they web you down. So you need to have something that's projectable. I know there's I can't remember the name of the dude who did it, but there was some really high profile incursion ganking events over the past couple of years, and every once in a while he'll get it back together, and it just kind of falls really flat, and it's kind of like the biggest event of the year for incursion ganking, and just because it's so hard to pull them off, right?
Yeah, you're thinking of Kira, member of Goon Swarm.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Name rings the bell.
Kira.
How does he usually do it? Is he one of the guys who uses the smart bombing battleships? Remember somebody does that.
Yeah, he's done smart bombing battleships, but he regularly uses Taloses. I regularly see him link kill mails or Reddit stuff.
Do you know much about his methods there, Sir Narji?
No, I'm usually on the side that's laughing at and encouraging him, actually.
Riddle.
All right, I wanted to get in one more incursion topic before we get to our rest of our eve news and head towards the exit. How would the community feel about moving to upgrades to the new AI, the AI that's been used for the SOTIOs and for the forward operating bases, including the forward operating bases mechanics where they attack structures in the systems where they're setting up residence?
Well, then what would be the difference between, say, like an HQ site and then a VG site if the response fleet is dependent on, however many ships you bring in?
Not necessarily the spawn, but the attack and fleet mechanics where they run logi at a range and run damps and scram and target effective targets.
I would love that. Actually, we a lot of people have been running this for years, and we actually are open to some challenge. And personally, I would like to people who are flying with me to know a little bit more about PvP mechanics, how this work, and the thing that you described right now. I just don't like the idea with shipyard stuff because it transfers to a random loot stuff, and Incursions always was about steady income, not about random income. Like you go through 10 Dead Space complex and you get nothing beside a box. It's not my type of earning risk.
Although I think we have seen a little bit of the new AI rollout. Like I've noticed more split aggro and stuff like that. Not varied spawns, but just in how they decide to attack things. Like I've noticed that they aggro my drones a lot more than they used to. That sort of thing.
For the changes like in mechanics, I would actually be interested to see something like global changes. Like, for example, I don't know, imagine if you don't get rid of the incursion spreads out to different systems, or like, for example, if you don't clear the incursion in nullsec, it changes the sovereignty, making it like free port or something. That would be interesting.
So
Yeah, I
as
think
far as sorry, Cam, go ahead.
yeah, I think that was the idea that they were gonna do with the drifter incursions was if you didn't stop it, it was just gonna keep spreading. And I don't know why that isn't a thing. If you don't stop it, it should keep growing, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
So as far as like the nullsec incursion thing goes, I think that they are kind of easyish to run as a larger nullsec group, right? But as a smaller one, it might not be. I think if they did, attack those sovereignty structures, like I think Marajud was saying, it would be really cool. But I think that the incursion difficulty should have a new AI and should scale according to, because it spawns in a constellation, the average ADMs in the constellation. If they're like all 6, then it should be a lot harder than if it's all like, 1.
Yeah, personally, I'm hoping for a challenge.
Yeah,
By all
honestly,
means.
I used to run incursions like 10 hours a day on the days that I did it. Completely mind-numbing for me, and I just kind of loved when things were shaken up.
I'd be up for a challenge.
I think even if you cycled between the different factions, like the pirate factions, at least you would change up the mechanics for what those ships are available. Like if you had a Garista's incursion or a Angel incursion, there would be different chips and different strengths, and you could make 5 different incursions that way, and then it's not always the same.
Yeah. Another side of it, though, like a side effects, like you probably heard of wormholes that was abandoned because people were running anomalies there, but they didn't kill the drifter that shows up in the end. And like drifter warps away, nobody kills it. And probably, guys, you probably saw this on Reddit, a screenshot with like 50 drifters on grid and abandoned wormhole because of the drifters that warp as soon as you start to do something in this wormhole.
That is a hilarious side effect of those drifter responses.
But bring on, new sites, new mechanics. Love it. Bring it on. Because I mean, we've got what we've got to do. We've nailed it down. We know exactly what we're doing. Bring on, give me 3 different new sites in the HQ. Let me go figure out how to run them. It took them 6 months to figure out how to run the HQ sites. At least, I believe, from what I've been told. I don't know about the VG and the assault sites, but bring it on. Give us a challenge. We'll be there.
Well, that's one thing, Baldy. You got you can add different sites, but if I remember correctly, when incursions were first introduced, and I think when they were rebalanced later, as far as the difficulty went, it took the people who were running them a couple of weeks of testing on Singularity to actually figure out how to most efficiently run them and actually get it done. I think that the best way to move forward with that, if you want more intrigue, interest, and to shake things up a little bit, would probably be to introduce mechanics that would be kind of unknown, like different size spawns. You don't know what's going to go on, what's going to spawn. You got all your different rat types and stuff like that I have not definitely memorized. And if you have the new AI, things warp out, then they warp back in. Maybe they do a warp out, then warp in on your Logi at some point, and they're challenged really hard with a lot of DPS, then another one on your DPS, then on your snipers with your Nightmares and your Mercurials, or whatever your group runs.
Well, what you would end up there is people would drift away from the incursions if they become too difficult to not memorize necessarily, but predict and run efficiently. People will just go rat in nullsec, which is great for the nullsec blocks more people out there. But it's not great for the high sec communities that have been built up around these things.
I would. Sorry, go ahead.
The average incursion channel has anywhere between 60 to 500 people in it at any time. On holidays it goes up even more. So there's big communities around these things now. I don't think CCP can just pull them out of the game or change them so drastically that people stop doing them. I think it would actually be bad for the game.
I got two things right there. Just I'd like to kind of bring up. The first is with the amount of money they get. I would like the amount of money you can actually get from them, which is I think max of a 200 mil an hour back when I ran them with TVP. Unless things have been more efficient and changed.
At most, you're going to make 200 mil an hour, but yeah, not much more than that.
And the next thing would be another way to kind of shake things up is for like FCs or as far as like PvP gangs that are 10, 20 plus, and PvE gangs like Incursions that are 10, 20 plus. The FC is always the most experienced person in the group. They know what they're doing. What if, because I know if you have more than 40 people in your incursion group, the payouts actually go down. What if that didn't happen? And what if when you warped in on the site, it figured out how many dudes you had and spawned accordingly? More dudes warp in afterwards, just to make sure it's not cheatable. More things spawned and it became progressively harder. If that happened, then you could kind of have a variable amount of dudes coming into the site, still have the same general difficulty and keep people on their toes.
All right.
Probably a bad idea, but I'd love to hear your opinion on
it. That sounds like a forward operating base, which is what I think they're running for eventually in those things. So that's a different site. That's not an incursion, which is semi-predictable or actually is very predictable group PvP. PvE. The forward operating bases and stuff is more geared almost towards the PvP side or heading towards NPCs that PvP with you.
Anyways, I think that's we could totally rabbit hole into that one for another hour or so. But since I know it's getting late for you guys / too early enough to actually get real sleep, do you guys want to talk about how you can get into some of these groups? I know one of the main ways you can find out a lot about that is if you go into in-game channel Incursion space public. It pretty much gives you a rundown of all the groups. But what do you guys, if you were to represent one to say, hey, go check this out, what would it be?
Well, as Warped, I run Warp to me, so we're friendly. We're new bro friendly. We try to be efficient as we can in that thing. All of our FCs will help you fit your ships, not necessarily buy your ships, but they'll certainly help you fit them, guide you to where you need to be. Our fleets are welcoming. Our comms aren't as toxic as people will believe you, will have you believe. But we're friendly, we're fun. We try to keep it fun. We're not too serious about it, but we make good ISK. That's Walk to Me Incursions in-game channel.
Cool.
Yeah, we in Nullsec are a bit more closed off. For instance, you have to be blue, so Karma Fleet's recruiting, that's how you can get with us or join any other blue card to good.
And for those who are in the Twitch chat or listening to the podcast, I just want to put it out there that goons do recruitment scam, but you're actually not allowed to recruitment scam into Karma Fleet, so they're a safe option to join. Coming from a non-goon who has joined goons on a couple of vaults.
So there are other incursion communities out there. If you want to go elite PvE, really high end, the TVP are probably but they're a little, from my point of view, they're a little less fun and a little less welcoming. They do have a skill requirement which Walk to Me doesn't have, or sorry, they have a fixed skill requirement where we have a very floating one. I'm not even sure if they accept alphas, or if they do, it's very limited numbers. We accept alphas. Bring it on. If you're Russian or you speak Russian and a couple of other languages, NGA is probably the guys you want to go see. They do allow non-Russian speakers in, but you got to have, I think, something there or a connection.
Just some experience, I guess, so you would like understand what's going on around you. But for the beginners, if they are like only Russian speaking, I would also recommend Warp to Me, because right now they have a good, like really new bro friendly programs, and I believe like every second or third site in Warp to Me fleet, I hear the new bro speech. So if you're new to the game, I would definitely recommend Incursions as an activity at all. Like, give it a try. Maybe it won't be your primary source of ISK, right? But you will get to know people. You will get into some sort of community. You will make connections. You will make friends. And like I said, you will learn how to operate in fleet, like how to broadcast, this kind of stuff, which also will be useful for you. And personally, only because of Incursions community, I even stayed in the game, because when I joined the Incursion community, I made those connections, I made those friends, and that made me stay in the game. If I would be running missions just by myself, I probably will quit EVE really soon, to be honest.
I get that. That's why people stay. The people. Is there anybody here who flies with TVP that can kind of give the pitch for them?
I used to fly with TVP. I don't know what's going on there, to be honest.
I can give a small pitch.
I'm gonna be honest.
Warp to Me, everything I've heard about Warp to Me is, well, keep in mind, it's been 2 years since I've flown with TVP, but everything I've heard about Warp to Me is they're more chill group. TVP kind of thinks of themselves as more elite, and efficiency is everything to them. And they care about that ISK per hour, right? If you're a bear who wants to get that best ISK per hour, or if you just see your ISK making as a chore, then go ahead and go for TVP. If you want to chill with some bros, Warp to Me is definitely a good option.
I'd also like to just add on the solo point that, I mean, if you don't like hearing other people's voices in your head, or you don't like dealing with people, or you don't even like being around people, Incursions probably isn't the place for you, because even in a small community like a VG community where there's only 10, 12 people, you still have to have those social interactions. But for me, that's what makes it great. And even though I have the capacity to run sites by myself with no one else, it can get really boring and monotonous. So joining up with other people is really great. And
It's horrible, but I'll give you a pro tip on that, my man. Go ahead and in their TeamSpeak or their Mumble, whatever. I don't know what Warp to Me uses. I'd guess TeamSpeak though. Go ahead and right-click everybody except for your FC and hit that mute button. Then pull up a Twitch stream of somebody doing something you like to see, and it becomes a lot more enjoyable.
well, no, I like the social interaction. I'm just saying for those.
So do I.
You could be just rating in the super instead of this, to be
Right,
honest.
exactly.
Oracle mining.
Go mine in a super. If you don't like other people, go mine in a super. You'll actually make more ISK.
Bet. I'm down for that.
I was curious how you make the voices in your head stop.
Medication. Lots of medication.
It gets to that point after running for solo for so long.
So yeah, it Incursions is group PvE. You can't really do it solo. A few people have found a way, but they're few and far between.
Great.
Robert, how's your low sec stuff going?
Well, it's the same as Tiana's, so it's good. I've been pretty complacent because I did some stupid things, but yeah.
Those explorer things you want to say?
Yeah.
Sorry, can I just satisfy someone in your Twitch chat?
Mining in a super, hey?
Hey, it's a method.
I mean, it'd be amusing.
All right, cool. So I think
Um,
that's we're pretty much. I mean, we've run the gambit on this again. It's from what I mean. I don't remember the first time we talked about it, but you guys talked about a lot of incursion things that I didn't know, and now I'm even more intrigued than I was 2 hours ago. So
I do want to add on to this. Low-class incursion sites are really easy to get into. If you have a group of friends, I would recommend trying to fit up a fleet to run them.
Yep, there are lots of guides online to do it, and if you need help, most people will gladly assist you. So
Yes.
Yep, I've handed out guys left, right, and centre for VGs and even scouts, which, to be honest, no one really runs. But
Yeah, no, not worth it.
scouts are like arguably harder than VGs. So
I know, I know. But yeah, feel free to come and join us at Walk to Me. We'll run you through a few sites until you get bored of them. But that being said, we have people that have gone from brand new bro to an FC and then have gone off to nullsec and stuff. So with our group.
Yeah, we were gonna have Wally Martz on, but he doesn't like late apparently, and yeah, he does a lot of null FC, but he's also an incursion FC. Apparently, no one knows him by that name in the incursion community.
Well, I can tell something about like lowsec if like triumvirate people already know how to get in, so probably talk to some triumvirate guide if you know them.
although I have to say, we were talking, just to briefly touch back, we were talking about how we wanted like more challenge, and low sec incursions are kind of like that. I mean, they're actually the same exact sites, but you have to do them in low sec, which means that anyone can come and just shoot you if they want. And sure, there's some defense you have, but
Yeah, but
you
the
know,
best part you can shoot back.
yeah, right, exactly. And that's a little bit of unpredictability. You can't calculate when people are going to come. You could maybe have intel or scouts, but really nothing like you could just do over and over and over again, and you know that you're completely safe, like in high sec. So it's a little bit different, but kind of the same thing.
Completely safe in high sec, making that amount of money is never not going to trigger me. I hope you understand.
It's okay.
Okay, let's try to get through the Eve news for the week, and then let's do our shoutouts.
real quick, do you guys need a run, or do you want to stick around for another 10, 15 minutes while we do the news? It's up to you.
I'm gonna stick around. I'm gonna just go get a drink though.
Okay, cool.
I'm gonna come out with rank, but I'll be back.
Okay, so over the break, we heard news from CCP that the studio that was developing Valkyrie is going to be acquired. So Sumo Digital is acquiring the Valkyrie studio from Newcastle.
Yeah, that is the word, man.
It's a promising venture for anyone who bought into Valkyrie or would like to see more content of that game.
Yeah. So okay.
I don't know how much else there is to say about that. We haven't heard any new details.
Yeah, I mean, you know how I'm usually kind of skeptical and on guard about some of this stuff. It just all the things that have been happening up until this point, as far as firing all these employees, selling off one of their the lesser or lesser utilized uh, or game companies to someone else, and then they're talking about hiring a bunch of dozens upon dozens of new developers for another MMO that's going to be not set in the Eve universe. It's just like, what is going on over there? I think there's more to the picture than we see, and I'm just scared and excited, and I don't know if I'm going to wet myself or what. I probably shouldn't wet myself, but
Yeah, the new hires for a new MMO is quite interesting. These are hirings for the London office.
yeah, so they're looking for dudes who know Unreal Engine 4, have experience in RPG gameplay, and specifically they said they're looking for those who should also be confident working in a number of areas, creating environments, weapons, armor, and props. So it's definitely not going to be space, or at least not in outer space.
Is Unreal Engine a RPG engine? I thought that was a
No,
shooting
I
engine.
mean, no, it's either RPGs. It's used for a lot of different things. It's
I think-
very versatile.
I don't know much about game design, but I heard that there's a certain like props engine that's really good for creating like stock kind of things. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, and then I also know that like one of the most recent pieces of news that come out of the well, as far as like in-game news, there's something about uh, time that they want to fix the time system in New Eden. So I'm guessing the developers are working on some sort of change in the way they do their time system. So they're incorporating this story, at least as far as I can tell. So there's a story in their news department, and then there's a follow-up story where their time expedition people got attacked.
Yeah, so this was an in-game lore event that ran this weekend. It wasn't very heavily advertised, but two ISD actors performed the lore event where they traveled from, I think it was Stoke Dixie to Luminaire. And they were going there to measure the time and compare the time between different systems, and based around some lore that all the different nebulas in the constellations of the game are all theoretically slightly different, and it's hard to measure, and they're looking for the most precise, accurate measurement of time so that everyone across New Eden has the same amount of time. And while they were running this time measuring event, they drove to the system and they were talking to players. There was about 24 players there joining in with the event. The group was attacked. They were in two enforcers. They were attacked by 3 NPC characters. The leader was a guy called the Astromancer, and then there were 2 other what appears to be mercs. The Astromancer was in the Velikor tribe, which is a tribe from the Mimitar Republic, and he had 2 members from a former Dusk Merc corporation called a Legional Corps. Both of these corps are not been active as far as lore or combat or NPC players, voiced or operated by any ISD members. These are all new kills on the kill board. It was a fleet of a Talos and 2 Algoses that tried to shoot these enforcers, but it didn't work out so well for them. They were defeated by the defending Capsuleers, who came to the aid of the ISD ships. And then notably, the Talos, well, all the ships dropped agency booster event boxes and fireworks packages, but the Talos dropped a corrupted trinary relic. Now, the corrupted trinary relics were dropped in an agency event a couple months ago, and they were turned into a mysterious quartermaster. The quartermaster, who his lore comes from the Eve Valkyrie series. Now, what was also interesting about these characters, the Astromancer and his 2 bodyguards, was that their characters were created in like 1990, 1974, and 1975, respectively. So they have like 30-year-old characters. Which, of course, that doesn't make sense. Eve came out in 2003. So perhaps there's some storyline here where these extra old Capsuleers are out in the game and perhaps wanting to screw with how time is being measured. And my tinfoil, putting my tinfoil hat on right now, this is perhaps a storyline that's building towards FanFest, the same way we had the Kianoke outbreak that led towards FanFest and the live-action roleplay that they did there at FanFest. So maybe, who knows?
Interesting. That'd be cool. I thought they were trying to tie in something they were doing to the server as far as lore, but no, that makes more sense.
I'm in contact with Mark726, who's following this intently, along with a couple new monuments that are out in space. So we'll have him on if we get more developments on this.
Cool.
Oh, there was also a Drifter response battleship that showed up to pick up the corrupted Trinary relic, and then just hung out in the system and was passive. And then the Antaka Research Consortium killed it, and a second one.
Yep, and the background picture we have for the show this evening is one of those images from that little expedition, right?
Yeah. There's some great pictures from Razorin, who does amazing screenshot work.
Is it Razorin? I thought it was Razorine.
I can't read.
Pronunciation, exclamations.
It's not my strong suit.
Commas. Yeah. Meh. All right. Yeah. Then after that, let's see. Blah 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 blah.
MER.
Oh, December. Yeah, MER, the monthly economic report. So, pretty much nothing has changed since forever. Goons are making dank isk in Delve, and yeah, I mean,
Was
that's
there
that,
not
man.
a significant less in drop in mining though?
Yeah, there was a drop of about 2 billion, sorry.
Are you guys okay?
Sorry, I thought it was more than that.
Maybe 3.
Not as much as I thought.
I'm sure the people involved in the bee control program on Reddit are taking all the credit.
Oh yeah, there's that bee control thing where you can sign up to go out hunting the oracles excavators.
I
Is
mean,
that what it is?
Yep.
They
Neato.
die by the boatloads in Delft nowadays.
It's like a load of fun.
I mean, I prefer shooting the oracles, but
Well, you could look at it as a good thing for incursions because excavated drones dying is good for Concord LP because Concord LP is what's mostly used to buy the excavator BPCs.
Shh, you're giving away trade secrets.
And then Delve is also almost approaching the Forge in production, which is quite amazing.
Yes, so I mean that shows you something. There's a lot of production, a lot of mining, a lot of ISK flow going through those regions. So
All right, and then tomorrow we have the January patch, perhaps the only January patch.
it looks like they're gonna be moving incursions as well as faction warfare and expeditions into the agency interface. So I mean, if you've seen it in your journal before, it's now venturing over and will look nicer. They're also doing visual renovations, so dead space areas will look prettier with their new shaders models.
Yeah, and they're changing their reloading mechanic on the back end, so there will be slight mechanics changes to the reloading.
Yeah, and I was wondering about the fob improvements. It says that they're going to become more numerous and easier to discover. Like, isn't it right now you have to you gotta scan them down, or you gotta follow some of the NPCs? Like, how easier do you need it?
Yeah, I think it's a probing based on certain NPCs in the system.
Okay.
And then, yeah, we're still waiting on those Q1 Citadel changes.
Winter is coming, whenever that is.
Well, they got 3 months. No, 2 months. Q1, right?
I have a theory that all of our time zones are messed up, and winter is actually later than what it should be. It's just a working theory. I talk to myself about that all the time. I'm not a scientist.
It's winter in Canada.
It's winter. It snowed here in Texas last week twice.
Must be winter then.
Yeah,
Based
like
off of geography,
inch.
it's winter somewhere.
They closed down schools in Georgia because they got a quarter inch of snow. I mean, it's the apocalypse.
Is that winter somewhere? Just like it's after 5 o'clock somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Happy hour, baby.
The snow apocalypse. And then in the opposite of winter and icing, there's a meltdown issue. I guess it's something to do with the Spectre version of Intel processors. I guess there was not just for Eve, but I mean as a whole, they found some security issues within the processor's coding that makes it run faster or speeds up the CPU more than it should and heats everything up. So if you notice, you
Sorry, I was going to say that's to do with the way the chip predicts what you're about to do, and there's a security flaw where it can read that information. It's not going to affect most people's gaming rigs and stuff. It's more about your server stuff than stuff that we're using.
Yeah. So, but apparently, if you do notice some CPU issues, they should be fixing that soon.
Great. And then, of course, if you like socializing in your Incursion community, if you like socializing in your corp, you're probably going to like socializing at an Eve meet. As far as Eve meets coming up in January, there's the Vancouver monthly meetup. You can find me at every third Tuesday of every month in New Westminster. There's a Charlotte, North Carolina Eve meet. That's a monthly Eve meet as well. They're hosting on the January 20th. And Eve Melbourne meetup on January 20th as well. No competition between those two events. And if you can't find an Eve meet, you start your own Eve meet. Go to evemeet.net and just form it up. You'll find a group. There's lots of people out there just hiding under rocks who want to come to Eve meets.
It's true. Literally under the rocks.
I wanted to thank, before we go into shoutouts here, all of the people who joined the Discord and followed the Twitter over the Christmas break. We had a ton of people coming in. There were lots of people prior to looking for some dank leaks, but lots of people who stuck around and are hanging out in the community, and it's great to have you all in there. It's very enriching. I love to have more viewpoints and voices. If you're not part of our Discord community, I highly recommend you join us and shoot the shit in there with us.
Oh yeah, a lot of leaks, but yeah, we had a lot of fun. A lot of people were chatting and stuff during that break. So yeah, I appreciate you guys.
All right, let's move into some shoutouts and some hypes. Let's start at the bottom and put Tiana on the spot.
So I would like to thank my new corp that I been there in 1 month for being a warm welcome to me. And my alliance Triumvirate that brings ton of fun to my PvP career, and I really like to hang out with these guys and PvP with them when I'm not running Incursions.
Beautiful. Boltilocks?
I'm just going to shout out to all my FCs in Warp to Me, because without them, I don't have a community. And I just want to put out a shout out for our 5th year of Warp to Me. We've got some really good events coming up, so join our community.
Best way through the channel in game. Correct? Maybe.
Yes, absolutely. We do have a Discord as well. You can find that in our in-game channel, Warp to Me Incursions.
Beautiful. Bobbert.
I guess I'd like to thank all the people I've ever run Incursions with, whether that's Tiana or Boldy, or done any in-game activity, because I think I would have left the game a long time ago if I didn't meet people that had similar interests.
Yeah, I'm sorry we got you on a little bit late there. We missed a full intro of you, but thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no problem. Sorry about that. I got confused on the times.
We are
Blame me.
terrible at time zones. Sir.
Sir Najil, are you there?
Yes, that
Sorry, wrong key. Yeah, I'd like to thank, give a shout out for our FC team as well, for making it possible to have 4 fleets running during the Delph headshot. And also a shout out for our regular members for bringing the DPS, Logi, and boost, etc. to make it possible to kill that incursion that fast.
Sweet. Cyclone.
All right. I actually got a few here. Surprise, surprise. First off, I have a YouTube channel that I hope is going to be growing a little bit more, and that is Dearth Ramir's YouTube channel. And I'll, of course, put all of these in the Twitch and the Discord. And this guy, he's really good at PvP. I've flown with him before. I've flown against him in tournaments, and he knows what he is doing. And you'll see it in his vids. You can pick up a thing or two. Best way to learn. Next, I would like to go ahead and plug the Mind Clash Twitch. If you're not watching live and you're free on Monday night, go ahead and head on over to the Mind Clash Twitch. Maybe toss in a sub if you want to support the channel, support the dudes who are running it, Meridud and Kale Decadent. And just you can keep up and toss in some chat as you go. The next thing is the YouTube channel. You got a lot of subs on that YouTube channel. We got looks like 123 subs on that YouTube channel, but it needs more. And all past podcasts are posted on that YouTube as well. It's the Mind Clash Podcast on YouTube. You probably search that up, but I will toss this in the Twitch and in the Discord. And then the other thing is the Discord. If you did not know that Mind Clash does have a Discord, Mind Clash has a Discord. You can keep up in there as well. And go ahead and toss in that Discord app there, if you will. And you can keep up with people through the week and talk to the dude if they. Sorry, you can go ahead and join in on the discussion and talk about the podcast as it's developing throughout the week. That's the best way to say that, I think. I'm sorry, I stuttered a little bit there. A lot of booze.
It's a good way for us to get more guests. Is we talk to you in the show or in the Discord, and we're like, hey, you got a pretty good idea here. Let's bring you on the show, and we'll talk about stuff we want to do in the future. So it's a good way to get involved.
Okay.
Yeah, shit. So, man, I moved in. I didn't say this in the intro, but I actually switched corps. I'm still within the Guardians of the Galaxy fam, but I'm now in Slice. So I'd been once we had King Voodoo on the show back for the ATs. I started talking to him, and we've been keeping in touch a little bit here and there. And he said, yeah, I know you're not really happy with your corp. Why don't you come on over here to Slice? So now I'm hosing it up with King Voodoo and all those guys. So it's I've actually had a lot more fun in Eve this past week than I've really had in a few months. So I'm getting back into it. I have 2 accounts subbed now, and I'm setting up a nice little PI farm and mining operation in a secret location. So I'm enjoying it again.
Sweet. All right, and yeah, I just kind of give my shout out there. Thanks to all the people who joined our Discord and are following our show over the Christmas break. I really appreciate you guys joining, and I'll shout out Manic Velocity for claiming that we are Eve famous. Because yeah, I don't know about that.
Who said that?
Fucking Manic.
About us?
Yeah.
Hardly E famous.
I know. This guy, yeah, and then he was claiming he's not E famous, which is
most certainly E famous.
Manic just now noticing us though. We got a ways to go. Let's be honest here.
Right.
No. I met him a couple times in Vegas.
No, I'll actually ask other podcasters or streamers, and I'll jump on and be like, "Hey man, what's up? I'm Kale from Mind Clash," and they're like, "Yeah, I've never heard of you." Oh, cool. Never mind then. I'll just go fuck myself.
Thank you guys very much for inviting us. I hope my terrible accent didn't make me too hard to understand.
No, it's perfect. Fine. You are the voice of Losec, so it's all good.
Yeah, voice with a Russian accent. Like it should be.
I'm not gonna
Yeah, I appreciate all you guys. Thanks for stopping by.
Next week, we're going to be doing a show on NC Dot. So if you're an NC Dot pilot or you've flown with them, maybe get a big beef with them, we're going to have Lady Scarlet on. We're going to talk about NC Dot and their kind of lifestyle, their in-game culture, their rise to power over the past couple years. and holding strong since the old days. And then in the following weeks, we're definitely going to be having shows dedicated to the CSM. If you're a candidate for the CSM, if you're hoping to run for CSM, we're compiling a list of CSM candidates. We're going to be grouping you together into shows to have on air and talk about the hot topics and the issues, and kind of tell our community why you should be voted for, because there's lots of people who aren't voting on block levels. So if you are a CSM candidate, hit up one of me or Kale or one of our producers and drop by the Discord. All right, thank you everyone. Thank you our guests. Thank you viewers live. Thank you in post. We will see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. That is 10 p.m. Pacific. Nope, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, 0300 Eve time. Well, have a good week.